Hey folks, this is Neil Fallon from Clutch, and you are watching Heavy Consequence.
Hey everyone, it's Spencer from Heavy Consequence. I'm here with the one and the only Neil Fallon from Clutch. Thanks for being here.
No problem, thanks for having me.
Cool. So you guys have a brand new album out with a very cool title, Sunrise at Slaughter Beach. And you've actually described it as a weird record. What do you think it is about the album that makes it particularly weird?
Because typically what we like to do is do our songs live first before we record them in the studio. But obviously we didn't have that opportunity last year. So we were kind of forced to make much more of a studio creation than we have in recent memory. Some of our early records, Blast Tire and Self-Titled, they were much more of, the studio was an instrument as well. And we had always talked about doing things like backup vocals, but we never wanted to paint ourselves into a corner to have to do that on tour. But honestly, last year we didn't know when we were ever going to go back out on tour, so we said now or never. And then you get things like theremin and vibraphone and kind of unorthodox instrumentation, but that made it fun.
Yeah. And I particularly dig the song "We Strive for Excellence" because of all the little references in there. People of a certain age there's like so many little shout outs to maybe like late 70s culture. I'd love to hear more about that song.
Well, I think that song might have been some kind of psychological reaction to being stuck inside. I have a 12-year-old son, and I was getting real frustrated with the notion that his childhood was going to be spent virtually, because there's something to be said about the education of breaking your arm, or getting road rash or poison ivy, what have you. That's real life, and I think it's a big part of an education.
You guys were, which was very cool, you guys were one of the first to jump on the live streaming when the pandemic hit, and you did some really cool live streams, like from the studio, from the headquarters, I should say. What was it that inspired you to kind of get that music out, to your fans?
Well, it was for two reasons. We wanted to keep busy. Music is a physical thing, and if you just sit around, your muscles atrophy. And it was good to have a goal, saying in 3 months' time we're going to do this, in 6 months' time we're going to do that. It was a way to stay engaged for ourselves with the music, and it was very reassuring to see like how many people were watching these things and actually making an event out of it in their home. And so it was odd at first, and it will never be like normal feeling singing to a camera, but it was good, for while it lasted. But the novelty kind of wore off, and we might do another one if we have to, but it doesn't replace the real thing.
My next question was, Clutch started now over 30 years ago. And for you, looking back, when you started this band, did you ever imagine that you'd be going strong 30 years later?
No, not in a million years. I spent many years, far too many years, thinking that this was a temporary situation. I had it hammered in my head at a young age that this was not a viable career option. And it took me a long time to arrive at the fact that, yes, it is. And once that happened, it became a lot more fun. But, it's like when you're super young, you don't really plan for the future. So we just kind of took it one day at a time, one tour at a time, and here we are 30 years later.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
I know a lot of your fans are very happy you're still going strong 30 years later. And
we have our fans to thank for that, because if they weren't coming to the shows, we wouldn't be having shows. So Thank you.